Okay, so good evening, everyone. How are you all? My name is Roderick. I'm a part of VOX Atlanta. I'm one of the teen publishers. I'm also an active member of a Boys and Girls Club located in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, Today's meeting is going to be based around showing how to create the perfect virtual space for people of my age group and younger because it's really hard to kind of keep us engaged when it comes to working in the virtual setting, and there are certain activities and things that you can do in the classroom to help keep us more engaged and highly participating to make sure that everyone is catching the understanding of what you want to do.
We have been providing virtual programming since March 13th and have learned a lot in the process and are still in the virtual environment. So we will be at least through the end of this semester. And it has been an absolute gift and challenge and all of those things that I know you're all experiencing in your lives as well, to get to take this high quality youth development program into the virtual space. And all of the things that we have done have found a translation into this world, and we're grateful for that and really grateful to get to share some of the things that we've learned from y'all, and also know that you have a lot of wisdom to share too.
So one of the things that we always like to do as we get started in this virtual space is what we've been calling a quick tech check. It's a way for us to make sure that we're all familiar with the Zoom tools that we're using. Even though some of us have been Zooming a long time, we always like to level the playing field by just doing that quick tech check. It also lets us kind of normalize the idea that we know Wi-Fi goes out. We want you to be on screen, and we hope that our young people and our staff members show up to meetings and classes and work sessions on screen. But we also need to normalize the fact that sometimes they can't. Maybe the bandwidth is low, and taking their video down helps them stay literally connected. Maybe there's other things going on in the background. So we honor the fact that you might have to have your video down, and we want to make sure that you know where to find those reactions so that in the chat box, so that you can stay interactive even if your screen is down. So to that end, I would love to invite everybody, if you are on mobile device, you simply tap the Zoom screen and you should be able to get those little clapping emojis and the thumbs up emojis. You can also see the chat there. And if you are on a laptop, if you hover over your Zoom screen, you should be able to see the reactions on the bottom. Any other tips from, the other tip that we often use is when we're not showing a PowerPoint, we invite people to be on gallery view, so we can literally all be together on our screen and see each other. Now that we've checked in with our Zoom tools, before we jump right into the business at hand, I would like to pass it on over to Roderick to take us through something that has become very near and dear to the young people that we've been working with, which is a mindful moment.
Okay. So during this mindful moment, it'll basically be like setting the tone type of activity. It's something that I've had teachers do in the beginning of our class sessions, and something we do at VOX also. And within the mindful moment, it basically helps you get everyone that's being involved in your classroom setting or whatever setting you're working in. It helps everyone get into that same mind space so that the rest of the class can go really well. And it just helps with, if you're stressed out, it helps you bring into the calm mindset. And if you're overexcited, it helps you get down to the level of excitement that everyone should be on in order to make sure class moves successfully. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, I need everyone to close their eyes, and I'm going to come through and I'm going to check, see if you have your eyes closed. So I need everyone to close your eyes, and it's going to be 2 minutes of deep breaths and meditation. So I want you to picture yourself. You're on an island, and it's just nice water running, no rain, plenty of sunshine for you to feel. And just picture yourself on that island, and picture all of the things that you want to be with you, whether it's you having a pina colada sitting on the sand running through your toes, or it's your family members just comforting you at that time. And picture that. So as you're picturing yourself on that island, thinking about how you can create it to be your own personal space. Think about if it was your own little island, what is every amenity that you would want in order to have it be personal to you? Now, as you think, I want you to take one deep breath in and let it out. Now that everyone has their perfect island, wake up. Now, the purpose of that activity, as I said before, is to basically just have everyone be put into that calm mindset. And say it in the chat if you feel like being on your perfect island puts you into the most calm mindset that you could be in.
This is also a trauma-informed approach, so grounding our young people in exercises like this and ourselves is a best practice in youth development. These trauma-informed practices can find their way into the digital space as well, and facilitators can have some fun in trying to figure out how to make them translate, but that we don't have to sacrifice the things that we do to take care of ourselves in the physical space, in the digital space, and we're learning that with every opportunity at VOX.
This is one of the biggest things we always incorporate in the beginning of our VOX meetings. The world that we live in now, everyone self-identifies differently, and we're very respectful of how people self-identify. On Zoom, you have the option to rename yourself once you're in a Zoom meeting. So if you're on the laptop, you would hit more and then you would hit participants. And it's going to tell you to rename or edit profile picture when you hit more next to your name. So on the mobile device, there's going to be the section at the bottom. So at the bottom, there's going to be the section that says participants, and I'll actually show. So there's going to be the section that says participants. In the same way I did, you click your name. Once you click your name, it'll give you the option to rename. And you just tap rename. And same way I say, you can put your first name, your pronouns, whatever club you represent, in your role.
We often use this in our community workshops as a way to also normalize not only the invitation to use pronouns if young people would like, but to remove last names so that if we share out a recording or photos on our social media, young people's names and privacy is also protected. So one of those tools that Susan was talking about, how we have adapted, brought right into the digital space, just like that mindful moment that Roderick facilitated, is our use of the go around question. So Roderick, I think you're going to lead us through this norm as well.
Okay, so as you all know, social media has a heavy influence on what we as young people do. And I know like a lot of my influencers are like most of the time rappers, people that I listen to a lot. And I listen to the different messages that are in their music. So if you were a social media influencer, what would you use your platform for and why? So I'll start by answering the question. So I want to go to school to study law, and I feel like criminal law isn't really talked about a lot and the things that go into it necessarily. And I feel like if I had a big platform that millions of people follow, I would definitely use it to talk more about law so that people are more informed. So that's what I would use my platform for. And I'm going to pass it to the person that I see next to me, which is Opal.
Wow, 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 wow. So my platform would be social emotional development. I am very passionate about the well-being, the emotional well-being of the human mind. And I would, if I were to influence, what it would be that platform and why. I'm very passionate about it, and I just want to make sure that everyone has a support system and have a place to just feel socially and emotionally stable. I'm gonna pass it along to.
One of the ways that we continue to connect with each other and build connections, even in the digital space, is through the tool of setting agreements together and creating ground rules. We have done this together with YAI in a variety of settings, person is so much fun. We get those big pieces of paper and people get to scribe all over them. We do it, of course, because, well, we all shout it out. Why create ground rules together? What's worked for you all?
Well, in my groups, I think it's just a reminder to the kids as to what the expectations are. It just reminds them, this is what you're expected to do. This is what you guys all agreed on. And I think it's a pretty powerful tool.
Thanks, Lee. You said so many really powerful words. It's something that we can revisit, and it's something that allows the group to set its own intentional expectations of each other. And it still works in the digital space. The most important thing for us is that sense of buy-in. When people, regardless of what age they are, get to name their own expectations and establish for the space, then they've bought into it. They have ownership over it, and they hold each other accountable so kindly and so beautifully. We're going to practice using one of the digital tools that we like the most, which is the annotation tool. And we want everybody to be able to literally touch to write on or type on the screen. So a little bit of tech check here. At the top of your screen, if you're on a laptop or if you're on a computer, it says you're viewing Susan's screen in green. And next to the green, it says options and has a little arrow pointing down. If you'll click where it says options, you should see a variety of options of how you could see Susan's screen. And then toward the bottom third of it, you should see something that says annotate, and that will let you write on her screen. Something that we've learned through practice is that if young people are using a Chromebook, or if you're 50 and you're using a Chromebook, you can't annotate. So we always like to make sure that people know how to use the chat as well. As a user, when you're annotating, you can't edit what you've already put up there. You can erase it, but you can't edit it. Only the host can erase it. Thank you for all of that fun coloring. Bunch of artists getting together on Zoom. So now that I know you know how to annotate, we're going to go ahead and use the acrostic BGCA to create a set of ground rules for this session. And then we'll show you how you can also save it and bring it back to future sessions, because to Lee's point, we can return to them. We like to call it a living, breathing document, so we might need to add to it. Sometimes we can set an intention for the day, and sometimes we can use it for problem solving if needed. What is something that you need to be able to feel comfortable, feel like this is a really great use of your time, maybe be courageous and vulnerable if you need to, as we're coming together in this digital space. And I want to invite you to go ahead and say something out loud, or go ahead and scribe it onto the screen. If you can scribe on the screen, go ahead and add what is something that starts with a B or a G or a C or an A that would help you get the most out of your time together. Can anybody think of anything else for a G or a C that you would like to lift up today that either has worked well in your spaces or something that you'd like to bring for today? Feel free to also use that annotation tool to put those stars or hearts or circle things that resonate for you. A quick side note of another digital tool, we have a random name picker. You can literally use this tool to put the names of your participants in a spreadsheet, and you publish it to the web, and Flippity kind of makes it a no-brainer for you to be able to do that. And have this random name picker where we can spin the wheel and pick somebody to go first. A lot of what we do together is, you know, that saying, process is product. So a lot of what we've done together by connecting with each other and using the digital tools of annotation or picking names or sharing in a chat not only creates the sense of community that we need that you mentioned, Opal, it also eases us into the doing of the creating together.
So we're going into the three big tips. Like, what are the biggest three things that help with keeping us engaged in this setting? And we talked to our teachers. Like me being in high school, I'm a high school senior now, and I know that our teachers ask us for feedback all the time because we're in class so much, and we're really becoming more focused on what our goals are and how to achieve those goals this year. So I know like one of the things that we emphasize the most is making sure that the instructions are simple and clear for whatever activity we're doing, especially being that this is a virtual setting now. Because if we're at home and like I take AP Calc, and it takes a lot for me to actually understand what's going on in that class sometime. So I have to, just go back to the teacher and say, well, hey, can you simplify how you did this a little bit better so that we can understand as a class what's going on? So creating simple and clear instructions help with making sure that the rest of the class understands and everyone can actually after the meeting be able to do their work without being completely confused. And then also what something my math teacher had to start doing was paying attention to our reactions, because he would tell us, he was like, I'm one that likes to talk. When I get into math, I really like to talk. So he had to learn to pay attention to like our facial expressions and how we looked, or if a lot of us cut our camera off at one time because we're just like confused, really confused. And he started to pay attention to that, to see, is there really an understanding of what I'm doing? And when he realized those things, he kind of noticed that a lot of us weren't understanding when he started paying attention to us more. And then for studying, we use games. So Kahoot is what we use the most. We always use Kahoot to do a review of a unit at the end. We do brain breaks where you may just get like 5 minutes, go get some water, go use the restroom, whatever you need to do to get yourself back on task for class. And then we also use breakout rooms. Breakout rooms help you, work in those small groups that you usually would work in with when you're in school or in the club, so that you're able to still kind of get that experience and get other people's perspectives of what's going on. Because there may have been one part of the instruction that you caught that the others may not have, and there's something they may have caught that you didn't. So these three tips can really help with making sure that your class is completely understanding of whatever activity is being brought in front of them.
Roderick, thank you so much. When we were planning for this session and we asked Roderick, what do you think that young people would want teaching artists and other adults who are gathering in digital learning spaces to know? These were his top three right off the bat tips. And they might sound, like no-brainers, but they're brainers. They're really important. And as a facilitator, meeting up with folks of all ages, but especially young people in the digital space, they're really reinforcing for me. So thank you, Roderick. To that end, simple, clear instructions. You might have seen I put in the chat. That's why we sometimes or often have a visual. We might take it down so that we can see everybody, but having a visual cue as well as the verbal cue, and then having a chat monitor, somebody putting it in the chat so that it's reinforced. I don't know about you guys, but I don't take in information auditorily. I don't take it in by listening as my best way of doing something. I usually need to see it and then do something with it too. So Roderick's point about playing games to reinforce our learning, really important. And then checking for understanding. Sometimes we just have to do that through literally checking in. And sometimes that's why we use scribing or other forms of feedback or reflection, just to check in to see where everybody is literally in their understanding. You can see on the bottom of the screen that we say we prioritize opening connections, check-ins, and a wind down or check out or reflective closings. We always say openings and closings are really important because those really help us set the tone. to your point earlier about why we spend so much time creating the culture of connection, because that is what lets us stay focused even when Zoom is fatiguing, or feel comfortable enough to ask questions when we didn't catch something. We had a couple of sessions right when we first made the transition to digital, where we came together with our facilitators and literally spent some time co-crafting adaptations of our favorite energizers and icebreakers into the digital space. So we had a couple that we thought we could bring to you today.
We're going to do what's called a 30-second scavenger hunt, which means that I'm going to set a timer and you are going to have 30 seconds to find something around you that answers the prompt that I'm going to give. So the prompt in this case is you have 30 seconds to get up and move and find something around you that brings you joy. Okay, go.
Although I'm not sure she brings me joy right now. She doesn't smell very good.
Cholula is my favorite hot sauce. The Cholula.
Thank you.
I
Favorite.
couldn't find my
Mine
paint
too.
brushes, but painting. So I'm bringing the paint.
Awesome. Thank y'all. So you can also adapt that to be a go round and have, if you have the time, then participants can share out about their object. They can use it to tell a story about themselves. There's a lot of ways that that scavenger hunt can go, and you can do multiple rounds. So it is a really fun and adaptable game to play.
I love, Susan, that you took our picture, because, you know, bringing back in the theme of storytelling, being able to share out little stories about how we're connecting, even though we might be apart from each other, is really important. The sustainability and the long-term vitality of the work that we're all doing. We're going to go ahead and close out with a way that we often close at VOX, which is we'll share some meaningful closings. And Opal, I appreciate you sharing with me the energy ball. I'm going to direct message you to learn more about that. And maybe we'll just do a quick closing with a word or a phrase. What's something that you see using in the future, or one way that you see yourself using this information in the future? And I'll just say, I want to learn more about Energy Ball from Opal. I'm going to pass to Gabby. May I pass to you? What's one thing you want to take with you from this session? One way you want to use, something you want to use in the future?
I think that one thing I'm going to take away is just putting more time into the openings and the endings, because like how that sets the tone for everything. So I'm going to because it's been pretty tricky, just like the way that we have it set up. So I'm going to work with the person who's in the room with the kids and see what we can do to have better kind of community, or at least better connection between me and the students, and to see what we can do about the tone of the class.
We look forward to seeing all of you again in the digital space as part of our YAI community. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for all you do for young people.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. It was so good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.